How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Sports Nerds in the Morning. Today, it's Friday, March 1st. It's officially March, one of the greatest sports months of the year.
Yep.
March Madness, spring training baseball, meaningful basketball, and NBA, of course. Today, I'm Dominic Stern. Today, I'm joined by
Jake Berman,
Jordan Goldman,
and today, we'll just be talking about baseball because the big news yesterday in the baseball world was that superstar free agent Bryce Harper has finally ended his free agency. He will be going to the Philadelphia Phillies on a 13-year, $300 million contract, and I'm just going to give you... $330 million contract. And I'm just going to give you the breakdown. So he got a $20 million signing bonus, and this year he'll be making $10 million. From the years 2020 to 2028, he'll be making $26 million. And 2029, 30, and 31, he'll be making $22 million. So I'm going to start with Malad and Jordan because I know what their perspective on the signing is. And then we'll go to Jake because he's a very differing view from those people.
We'll get to it.
So let's start with Malad and Jordan. What did you guys think of this signing for both Bryce Harper and for the Phillies?
I think this is a great signing for the Phillies and Harper. Obviously it's the highest contract in sports history, so I think it's good for Harper. I think he deserves it. I think he's a great baseball player. Last season his average didn't show it, but he did have above 30 bombs, and what, he hit 240, right?
Something around there.
Yes, and that's, in my opinion, 30 bombs hitting 240 is somewhat of a successful season. But in his past, he has had much better seasons. He's hit over 300 a couple of times and this and that. So I think the Phillies, I think it makes them a better team overall. I think putting a guy like Harper in their locker room just kind of tells all the players and all the young guys on the staff that the Phillies organization wants to win. They are ready to win and they want to win now. So I think this is the best option for them to get Harper, and they did that.
I mean, I really like it for any franchise, obviously, that really makes a push to go compete as soon as possible. And I think, the Phillies were in a similar situation as the Padres. They have a lot of young guys coming up, and some of them are gaining some experience. Their rotation's looking pretty interesting. Their hitting is definitely not their focal point to win ball games. So I think bringing in a guy like Bryce Harper is interesting. I gotta be honest though, at first I really wasn't a fan, especially $330 million. I don't know if any player really deserves a contract like that, especially Bryce Harper, but he's gonna be on the Phillies are gonna be on the hook for that money. So I really hope it's not a Carl Crawford type situation where you sign a guy to a huge contract and then have to dump his contract, eat a bunch of money, and have an issue. At the same time, I think with the young guys, Jordan, I think it's important that those guys are going to be there for a while. So I think there is a window for sure for the Phillies with Bryce Harper. I'm kind of up in the air on it, and I think we're going to find out either way whether this deal is good or not. But the Phillies are trying at least, and I can't blame them for that.
Yeah. I definitely do think that the Phillies made a good choice here just in terms of the player. Bryce Harper, he's a great guy. I think he's a bit overrated, but we'll get to that in a second. I think that Philly is definitely a World Series contender this year, but you could argue that they were definitely playoff contenders before Harper. They added JT Realmuto, they added Gene Segura, they extended Aaron Nola. They've got a great young core in place. They talked earlier this offseason about how they had, quote, stupid money to spend, and they spent stupid money, whether that's for better or worse. And I really do think this puts them over the top. I do think the contract's going to come back to bite them. It doesn't necessarily matter if you have a World Series. Right. 13 years, $330 million, that's insane. It's insane.
Yeah, and I agree. I think he's a little bit overrated just because everyone acts like he's the second best player in the MLB right now.
He's not a top 5 player in the MLB.
I think he's top 10.
Yeah,
borderline
you
top
can say
5.
Top 10.
And
you can say he's top 10. I don't think he's top 5.
And I've said this off the record is that no player, including Mike Trout, is worth even $300 million, and that's just because I don't think the MLB is as big enough of a market for the fact that we should be paying one player $300 million for a guy that's gonna bat 4, maybe 5 times a game. It's just not worth it. Because in basketball, you're paying a guy $40 million who's gonna take the ball down the court every time. He's gonna shoot the ball 20 times a game. In football, you're trying to pay your quarterbacks who are gonna throw the ball 30 times a game. Your running backs who are gonna carry the ball multiple times. But I don't like the numbers that are being thrown out at these players. I mean, great for the players. They're making as much money as they want. They're capitalizing on their skills, and that's great for them. But I think that all their values are a bit overpriced. I think Mike Trout's worth maybe a $200 million contract, and everyone else is below that because Mike Trout is clearly the best player in the MLB.
Mm-hmm.
That's just my thought. Obviously, people are going to disagree with me, but
I think that's pretty unanimous that Mike Trout's the best player.
no.
in the
I was
MLB.
talking about that Mike Trout's worth $200 million, and everyone's below that.
You know, you say that, but and theoretically you're right, but it's what it's all about supply and demand.
You can't change the market.
Exactly. If someone's willing to pay Mike Trout when he becomes a free agent in 2020, someone's willing to pay him $400 million, I think he'll hit 400. Especially if Bryce Harper just got 330. If they're making if one team is willing to meet that demand, then good for Mike Trout.
Exactly.
You know?
The teams are coming to Bryce, so he's gonna want the most money from what he can get. So he's gonna wait as long as he can, and they're just gonna. Each team is just gonna match each team, and it's just gonna keep growing. So I mean, it obviously gets up to $30 million. It's just the market. You can't really change it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree.
I do agree with you. I do agree with you. $300 million, $330 million is a lot of money for a guy that bats 4 or 5 times a game. It's a ton of money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you guys, and what you're saying is that, but I'm more saying that the market has been set too high for these players.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's only gonna go up.
And you know what? It's a credit to the agents. That's why they get like 10% off of their players, because they do a good job of coming in and negotiating. You know, Bryce held out for a ridiculous amount of time. I just think where I agree with Dom is just from a competitive standpoint as a player. If I really believe that I'm good enough to play for the next 13 years at a high level, I don't need to have all these safety blankets and all these little, security type things to make me want to come here. You know, like Machado with the 5-year opt-out, or a lot of these guys coming in and saying, well, I want the same amount of pay every year and I want all this locked up. To me, that comes from a standpoint of saying, well, I'm not confident that I'm going to be good enough.
Right.
I think if you're confident that you're going to be good enough and you really want to show that you're a team player and you really want to come in and compete and win games, number one, you report the day that you're supposed to report. You don't wait 2-3 months and come in middle of the season or, hold out just for money. And I think another thing is you have to be realistic, okay? Like, come in here, say, whether you get, hey, he got a 10-year contract, 13-year contract. That's great. That's terrific for him. I'm happy for him. But if you really believe you can play, come in on a realistic 5-7-year deal, okay? Go get paid. It could be $30 million a year. It could be even more per year. Come in, compete, win games, win a couple World Series, build your resume, and now you have something to go off of.
I think that Bryce Harper not wanting an opt-out makes the viewers and us see that he knows he wants to win a World Series here. He wants to be very successful, and he wants to hit over 300 for as long as he can and hit 50 bombs each year or whatever. He wants to play as long as he can and as good as he can for that amount of money, and he thinks that he's worth that amount of money because he wants to stay there and win a World Series multiple times, one time, this and that, because he wants to stay in that city and not move around.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what you guys are saying, but from the standpoint of the Phillies, I don't know why you're offering this guy a 13-year contract, because he's 26 right now, so he's still young. So if you offer him like a 7-year contract with like $30 million a year, I'd say that's a very good contract, because Harper's getting his money. They're not having him for too long, but they do get him for a good period of time. But 13 years, by the time that contract ends, he's going to be 39 years old. So once he hits his mid-30s, that's when players really start to decline. And he's still going to be making upwards of $22 million every single year. And if you're smart, you go to Vegas and you put money on the fact that he's gonna be nowhere near worth that amount of money. Come 8-9 years, he's not gonna be worth that amount of money.
How about front loading the contract? Like they're not paying $30 million a year for him, so they're paying less because they added the years, and then it didn't go up proportionally enough to be $30 million a year. Why not front load it? If you front load the contract, okay, you'll pay him $30 million a year for the first whatever years, maybe 7 years, and then you can ease it out so that at least when you want to trade him, you don't have to eat as much money. That's what I didn't really understand, that it was a fixed rate every year.
Well, no, like I said earlier at the top of the podcast, the last 3 years he's getting paid $22 million. The first 10 years he's getting paid $28 million. So it's front loaded, but it's not significantly front loaded.
I don't think it's enough.
So
I think the Hosmer deal, at least when it first happened, I thought that was really going to be a precedent for other big contracts where they were going to be front loaded, especially based on your age. And let's just say Bryce was like what? Let's say he was 21. Let's say somehow he's 21 and he gets his contract, right? I would understand starting at maybe like 23 million a year, slowly going up to maybe something crazy like 35, and then slowly dropping back down. I think that type of contract makes more sense for the team. But it's a credit to Bryce's agent. His agent did a good job. He got a great deal, and now he doesn't really. If he doesn't perform to his expectations, he's not really going to get hurt too much by it, in my opinion, at least.
So let's transition more to like the teams wise now. So how significantly is this going to affect the Phillies, and do we think they have a shot at winning the NL East now, which is arguably the best division in all of baseball now?
I think that the Phillies were NL East favorites, but I think they were favorites before Harper, again, considering the moves they made this offseason. This definitely puts them over the top, but the Braves are obviously really good, but they didn't really add anyone. Their core got better. They signed Josh Donaldson on a prove-it deal, but beyond that, they haven't really made any additions, and they don't need to. They're still waiting for their core to develop, but I do think Phillies leapfrog them. The Nationals obviously just lost Harper to a division rival nonetheless, and while the addition of Patrick Corbin is really cool, he's not Bryce Harper, and they have 3 aces there who are great, but they don't have a lot of offense. Along with the fact that, obviously, the Marlins are the Marlins. The Mets could be a wild card, but they're definitely not going to win the division.
Yeah.
And I agree with Jake. The Marlins with Giancarlo Stanton, who knows what could happen. Any year, they could really catapult. I don't see them being in the top 2. Atlanta looks really good. Like you said, Jake, they're still developing. I think they'll finish first. I think Philadelphia could finish second, and I think that division looks really strong, in my opinion. A lot of contenders, and I think there'll probably be a team that's over 500 that'll miss the playoffs. But I think Philadelphia's in a really good situation. The question is, does Atlanta have injuries? Does Philadelphia have injuries? These are all things we can't predict, and I could see Philadelphia being first or second very easily.
Yeah, I'd agree with you both, Jake and Malad. Atlanta and the Phillies, they will go neck and neck all year. I don't know which team will be first or second, but they're very similar teams in my opinion. Especially last year, they were very similar. Obviously Atlanta was first and Philly was third, but I don't think that showed it. I think they're very similar teams. They're and adding Bryce Harper this year, I think would put them on top of the Braves. I just think they're just that much better, just a tiny bit. Yes, Dom, you might have something, but the Braves, yes, they still could be first or second. It's neck and neck. It's very tough to know right now. It's just the start of spring training, so that's what I think.
Yeah, what you guys have said is pretty accurate. The Mets, they're gonna be competing for a wild card spot. They're probably gonna be third place in the division.
Right.
The Marlins, they suck. They're going to be the worst team in baseball this year. Maybe the Orioles. So, they're just going to get beat up in the division. The Nationals, I don't understand what they're doing. They should just close shop and just rebuild.
I agree. I think they
because, Walgreens, whoop-de-doo. they they lost their best player who they couldn't win with for some reason, and they added Patrick Corbin on a huge contract for some reason. It just didn't make sense to me. Obviously, Corbin's a great pitcher. He pitched well in Phoenix, so he's going to pitch well in Washington, but it just didn't make sense, like, the timing. And then at the top, you're going to have the Phillies and the Braves. I think the Braves are the best team in the NL. Their talent that they have that's young is only going to get better this year. Well, at least theoretically, it should get better this year. And their pitching staff, it's going to improve. They've been in the playoffs before, so I feel like they're still, in my mind, the favorites for the NL East. But the Phillies are a legit playoff contender, and they could easily win this division. It's going to come down to who can beat the Nationals, the Mets, and the Marlins the most.
Yeah,
because
It's true. Yeah.
because those two teams at the top are going to be fighting. They're going to hard hit each other, but it's who's going to beat those teams that you've seen a lot all year the most. You can't lose any series to the Marlins. There's no excuse. The Nationals, they still have enough talent to beat you, but you should beat them most of the time. The Mets, they still have a great pitching staff, a lineup that's somewhat dangerous, but we all know the Mets will still find a way to disappoint, get hurt.
Right.
So it's still the Mets, but don't let Josh listen to this, by the way. But the Braves and the Phillies have put themselves in a great position to make playoff runs this year.
Yeah, absolutely.
And just looking at some of the guys that the Phillies added, they've flown under the radar this offseason. I mean, Andrew McCutchen, I think he's a guy lead off that could really come back. I think he could really resurrect himself this season. Gene Segura, I'm not the biggest fan of Gene Segura, but I still think he could have a really good season. Rhys Hoskins playing first base, JT Realmuto, Odubel Herrera. I mean, I think they really do have a good lineup. And then, their rotation is good. They have Zach Eflin, young pitcher in the back end, Nick Pivetta, Jake Arrieta, who they added in free agency.
Aaron Nola.
Yeah.
Nola.
Aaron Nola obviously hands down is their best pitcher, but I just really hope this team doesn't collapse like the Giants did, because I see a little bit of resemblance of the Giants team that everyone was really scared of with Johnny Cueto, Jeff Samardzija, Madison Bumgarner. So, I think they could really make a push, especially in the late end with some of their veterans, but I just hope they don't, for their own sake, that they falter like the Giants did.
Okay, let's move on to the NL Central. This is an interesting division because I feel like the team that won the division, the Brewers, they stayed about the same. They lost Gio Gonzalez, who they still might re-sign. No one knows because he's still a free agent, and it's March now, which is obviously concerning. But they re-signed Moustakas. They'll still have a great lineup, but the Pirates, they got a little better this offseason. The Reds, they got extremely better this offseason, adding Sonny Gray, Alex Wood, Matt Kemp, who's a great platoon hitter and a guy off the bench, and Yasiel Puig. The Cardinals, they got way better. They added Paul Goldschmidt. So the Cardinals will be a playoff contender as they always are. What do we see in this division? And do we think the Cubs have a shot at making the playoffs, or are they just going to fall away and bust?
Look, so we all know the Brewers are gonna be first. I think the Brewers are just gonna go back to playoffs this year. They're always good. They're gonna be good for a couple more years, and they're always good. I don't think the Cubs will make it back to the playoffs. I just don't. I think, okay, bold prediction. I think the Reds, okay, are gonna make the wild card. Okay, that is a bold prediction.
Yeah.
Okay. Because the Cubs, I just don't see them coming back. They lost in the wild card last year to the Rockies, and they just did not look good. St. Louis, not the greatest. I know they added Paul Goldschmidt. Okay.
Andrew Miller.
Yes, but I just don't think they're the greatest. And the Pirates are the Pirates. Okay, they just suck. They just suck. Okay, come on.
Sorry.
Like, yes,
Pirates
they added
fans.
this here and there, but they suck, okay? It's going to be the Brewers and the Reds. They added Yasiel Puig, and who else did they add?
Sonny Gray.
Sonny Gray.
Alex Wood.
Alex Wood. Thank you. I mean, come on. That's a great pitching staff. I know Sonny Gray didn't pitch well last year, but he's a good pitcher, okay? He's a good pitcher. I think it'll just be the Brewers and the Reds, and then all the rest. That's it.
I mean, personally, I root for the Cubs, to be honest with you, especially because of that drought that they had. I root for the Cubs. I'm sorry. I don't want to bandwagon or not. I like the Padres. They're always my team, but in that NL Central, I'm always rooting for the Cubs. I think their rotation did worse than it should have last year because right now they have 5 elite pitchers. If you put one of those guys, took all 5 of them and sprinkled
Sorry,
them
who's
on,
their rotation again?
they have
Lester,
Yu Darvish,
Yu Darvish.
John Lester, Kyle Hendricks, Jose Quintana, and Cole Hamels.
You named 2 maybe elite pitchers. John Lester
Okay,
and Yu Darvish.
Hold on. John Lester has always been good.
Yeah,
Okay?
John
Yeah,
Lester.
John
I
Lester's
said, I've
great.
said
John
but
Lester's
he's
great.
old.
He's old, okay, but maybe he only has a couple years left. But I think he's gonna have a solid year.
Oh no,
you
I really like John Lester. I'm not.
Yeah,
sure.
but-
he's good.
You
He's
guys
just
like
not.
Yu Darvish,
He's not
right?
He's
Is that
not.
fair?
I mean, what's Yu
Well,
Darvish's
well,
ERA
well,
been since
well,
the World Series?
We'll have to see what happens.
Listen.
Since he was traded to the Dodgers, he's just
No, Yu Darvish was great until the World Series. Once the World
really.
Series,
Okay, yeah.
once the World Series, he's been terrible. Terrible.
I'm not saying these 5 guys had a great season last season. Okay, I'm not trying to say.
Yeah,
that.
but you just said they're all elite pitchers.
In
Cole
my
Hamels-
opinion, they have the ability to have really good seasons this year if they string it all together.
Yes.
Kyle
Yeah.
Hendricks has been good the past few years. Okay, I don't see an issue with him. Jose Quintana, okay, he had a bad season last season. I'm not going to deny that, but he came from the White Sox where he was an ace, and I think he has an opportunity to come in here as a left-handed pitcher and win games for this team. Okay, I think the problem was last year they brought in a bunch of guys through trade and tried to plug them in, and it just didn't mix. Keep in mind they have Tyler Chatwood projected to be in the bullpen. Okay, he's not a bad pitcher himself. So I think they have really good pitchers who just need to string together a good season here. Okay, if they do that, I don't think obviously their hitters gone down just a little bit. Okay, but they still have Schwarber, they still have Baez, Contreras, Ian Happ's not bad. Rizzo and Bryan are obviously great, and Zobrist is terrific to lead it off. So, I mean, this team won 95 games last year, okay? They finished 1 game back from Milwaukee. I understand everyone expects them to drop off. I still think they have a chance to not only contend for the division and be close, I think they have a really good shot at a wild card spot. What they do with it, I don't know. But I think they're going to win games this year.
I can agree with that. I don't think the Cubs are going to win the division or even make the playoffs. I think their demise has been very overstated. Like Bilal said, they won 95 games last year. I still think they're a good team. But this division is just, it's insane. It's very competitive. Because of that, I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. I honestly see the Cardinals coming back. They've been out of the playoffs for a few years, but they've made some great additions, and the Cardinals are just, they have like that intangible, like as a franchise. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, they've got...
Racist fans.
They do have very racist fans, I'm not gonna deny it. But they have that, like... They're like... I don't know how to describe it. They're like... a baseball organization, you know? Like, you know what I'm saying, but like...
They have a winning culture.
Yes, there we go. Winning culture, that's the phrase. And I think that because of that, they'll be able to come back. I think the Cardinals win it and the Brewers grab a wild card.
And... Just pointing it out, as much as we like Cincinnati, okay, I don't see them flipping their record from 67 and 95 to 95 and 67.
Oh, I
I don't
100%
see
agree.
that drastic increase. And we already said Pittsburgh sucks. I think we all came to the conclusion of that. So I think it's a 3-team race, and the Cubs, they have guys who are experienced with these playoff pushes. Could it go wrong for them? Possibly. But on paper, I think they're getting slept on just a little bit too much, and I think they can really come in and win some games.
I can agree with that.
Well, so first off, the Pirates don't suck.
I don't think the Pirates suck.
They're not a playoff team by any means, but they were neck and neck with the Cubs and the Brewers for 4 months last year. And then, of course, they fell off the table because they were competing at too high of a level, and then they were at their ceiling, and then they came down because, obviously,
Yeah, the Pirates finished over 500 last year.
Yeah,
they're like,
so-
they're a good team.
So you two saying that they suck is totally incorrect. First off, the Cubs, they're still a good team. What you said about them having 5 elite pitchers is completely wrong.
Yeah.
They maybe have 2. I only think 1. But their lineup is still good. But I think this division's too strong. I still think the Brewers end up winning this division. The Cardinals, who got better, they have a winning culture. Their pitching staff got better with the addition of Andrew Miller. That's going to be a great bullpen asset.
Absolutely.
I think they get second, and I think they maybe nab a wild card. Because it's interesting, because as we'll now shift this conversation over to the NL West. So I feel like in each division, there's 2 teams at the top. You could say 3 in the NL Central if you include the Cubs. In the West, it's the Dodgers and the Rockies.
Yeah.
In the East, it's the Braves and the Phillies, and then the Mets are even in there. In the Central, it's the Brewers, the Cardinals, and the Cubs. So I just named 8 teams. There's 5 playoff spots.
Yeah.
It's going to be crazy. So what do we look at in the NL West? Because obviously we're Padre fans. I don't think anyone here is dumb enough to predict them to make the
I'm a
wild card.
Diamondback fan.
I am
Okay.
dumb enough to predict that. Would you like me to explain?
Go ahead.
Please.
Okay. So earlier I just said that Cincinnati would not flip their record, right?
Right.
Okay, I said that. They couldn't go whatever it was and 95 losses and then get 95 wins.
I agree with you. So why are you saying that the Padres can?
Let me completely contradict myself on that, okay? This Padres team has a really good chance to compete this year. Now, again, I'm not trying to go and say they're going to win. I know I just said I think they could win 96 games. They're not going to win 96 games, okay? But my point is they're going to really bring some excitement to this franchise, okay? Here's why. Ian Kinsler gets slept on way too much, okay? He just came in, he's playing second base. I think this guy can lead off for 14 days and hand it over to Fernando Tatis, okay? 14 days, I think he can play some great baseball. Manny Machado at third. This guy's a franchise player, okay? There's no question about it. Eric Hosmer, Will Myers, Hunter Renfroe. I think this team can really win games, okay? And my point is, this rotation is not bad at all. Okay?
Okay, that's where you're right.
Here's- First off, they just need to make one addition, okay? A guy like Gio Gonzalez will do it for them, okay? Gio Gonzalez, I'm assuming right now that they signed Gio Gonzalez. I think they will, okay?
How can you assume that though?
Because they've been in
It's a
talks
prediction.
with him and they need him. That's my prediction, okay? If they don't get Gio Gonzalez, I don't know what they're thinking. Unless they can get some other frontline starter, okay? Lucchesi, Lauer,
The Padres' projected rotation is Joey Lucchesi, who's great. I love him. Robbie Erlin,
and I don't agree with this projection, by the way, but yeah, continue.
Brian Mitchell, Eric Lauer, who's also good, and Luis Perdomo.
So
They have one.
good
They
pitcher.
have
In
one
that-
good pitcher with great upside. They have one solid pitcher and 3 guys that
Yeah.
are just complete garbage.
Yeah. And I don't
Yeah,
think
yeah.
that's going to be their rotation to start the year, or at least
It
you
better
know,
not
14
be.
days in. I think if you add Gio to that mix, I think that you have 2 pretty good pitchers for sure. Like I think you have 2 really good pitchers there. Gio's good. Lucchesi had a great season last year. Lauer, I think he can build and improve. And then possibly Strom, Padak, other guys that could come in from the minor leagues. Francisco Mejia is not bad at all. I think this team is going to surprise people. I think they make the playoffs. And honestly, as biased as I am, I'm going to go with that.
Okay.
I don't care about anyone else in the division. I think the Dodgers will win, but
Wait,
I think the Padres get second in this division.
Okay, can I
Go ahead.
pipe in on this? Malad, I'm gonna back you up on this. Okay, I'm gonna back
Wow.
you up.
Wow. Okay.
Now, I don't think they're gonna be first. Obviously, okay.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I
Can
think
we all
they're-
agree right
wait,
now
wait.
that the Dodgers win it?
Yes, we can.
Okay,
agree that the
yes,
Dodgers
yes.
win.
Yes.
I think-
And if
I
not,
think-
it's the
Should,
Rockies.
should,
If not, it's
should.
the
Okay,
Rockies.
we'll get to that in a second.
I
We'll get
think
to that in a
the
second.
Padres make the wild card, and they get shut out. Okay, they just get blown up. But
Which
hey,
is fine,
they made the wild card.
Which is fine.
But the reason why, look at that infield, okay? Ian Kinsler, Machado, and Tatis, okay? Those are 3 good hitters, and you have a veteran on the right side, okay? And he's an amazing fielder, and he hits, subpar, but he's pretty good, okay? Now, I'm a Diamondback fan, and I say the Diamondbacks suck. Okay, they are terrible.
Yeah.
Okay, they lost Paul Goldschmidt. Don't know
And
what their
Andrew
GM is
Paul and
smoking.
And Patrick Corbin.
I do not know what their GM is smoking, but okay. So, Giants, we all know, they're down the drain. They're toilet bowl.
Right.
So what does that leave? Okay,
Leaves the Rockies.
that leaves the Dodgers, Rockies, and Padres in third. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I can agree
Yeah.
with that. I agree with the Padres getting third place.
I think that's where we'll be.
Yes.
Who knows how many games we'll win? If it's between 70 to 90, I still think that's third place.
And I think they're gonna win about 80 games.
I mean, that's,
So you went from wild card to third place. How does
Yes.
that work?
you can still get the wild card.
Yeah, you
if
can
you're
still
in
get
third
Yeah, I
wild
know,
card third
but
place.
actually, oh yeah, because the Rockies are good.
Okay, all right. Okay, none of this nonsense. Okay,
Thank you, Dom. Please.
So listen, I genuinely believe that I'm the biggest Padre fan in the school. Whether Caleb,
100% wrong. Bro.
whether Caleb, Elon, Josh, or any other Padre fan. Sorry, Josh is not a Padre fan. If any other Padre fan wants to go against me on that, they can. And listen, the Padres
already did. Go ahead.
the Padres are not making the playoffs, and
Yeah.
it's not happening. Okay, so our infield is going to be great. Our outfield should be better than last year. Our bullpen should be great again. But our starting pitching staff sucks.
Thank you.
Sucks.
Exactly.
It sucks.
Exactly.
And when
exactly.
Malad said, "Oh, we're decent," no, we're not.
I
We
agree
suck.
with you in that.
If
yes.
we get Gio Gonzalez, we're better. I want Gio Gonzalez. I agree we should sign him. But our pitching staff sucks. And when you start off by talking about the Padres infield, by mentioning Ian Kinsler,
Yeah. And-
it shows that you don't know what you're saying.
No, you're one
Because
of
Ian
are one
Kinsler-
of Ian Kinsler.
No,
Everybody
Ian-
sleeps
this-
on Ian Kinsler.
Everyone
He's
knows
good.
Machado is good.
I know,
Everyone
no,
knows Hosmer's good. Everyone knows Urias is good. Everyone knows Tatis is good. But no one's talking about Ian Kinsler. Look,
At the
I
end
don't
of
expect this
of
guy-
April, Ian Kinsler will be our 5th best infielder.
Don't get me wrong. I love Ian Kinsler.
That's
I
not
love
bad for
Ian
Padres infield.
Ian Kinsler.
that is not bad.
Kinsler, he's been a great player throughout his career. Represents the tribe. Love Ian Kinsler. But Ian Kinsler, what can I say? Ian Kinsler. Oh my God, I'm the only Jew here. Just realized. Ian Kinsler is 36. Okay, he's gotten to the point in his career where he's not like a starting caliber guy. He's a role player. He's a leader in the clubhouse. And I still think Kinsler was a good signing.
Yeah.
I think you guys are overestimating the impact that he'll have. Last year he hit 240 between the Red Sox and the Angels. Like,
How's that? It's mind blowing. He's our 5th best he will be our 5th best infielder, because obviously Machado is going to be our best. Hopefully Tatis is going to be in there. Obviously Hosmer is a great player. Urias is great, and then there's Kinsler. So once you get to there, Kinsler's going to be subbing in for guys when they need their day off, and he's going to provide veteran leadership for the 2 young guys.
You know
That-
who needs veteran leadership, Dom? This Padres team.
you're right.
Yes, I
You're
understand.
100% correct.
I agree.
That is the most invaluable thing that you can bring to this Padres
You're
team,
100%
is veteran
correct.
leadership.
And that's why, again, I said Kinsler was a great
Yes.
signing. I
I'm-
love Ian Kinsler.
I'm not saying Ian Kinsler wasn't a great signing. I'm just saying that when you're starting off by saying why the Padres are going to make the playoffs, and the first name you mention is Ian Kinsler, you're
No, exactly.
so wrong.
Exactly.
Listen, I don't need to talk about how great Machado is. I don't need to talk about how great Eric Hosmer is, or how the potential of Urias, or Mr. Tatis. Okay?
Ian Kinsler is that cherry on top. okay?
Exactly.
He just adds on.
I value the cherry on top. Okay.
Sure, he might be a cherry on top, but this isn't an ice cream sundae. It's like melted.
It is.
They're not. It's not ready to be
Tell
presented
me
yet.
one flaw in this infield if you replace.
We
Kinsler
have a
with
great
Tatis.
infield. That's not the argument here. The argument is they're not going to make the playoffs. You're missing the point. Their rotation sucks, and because of that, we're not making the playoffs.
Okay, so we won 66 games last year, right?
Mhm.
Right?
What do you think was the reason for us winning 66 games last year?
Our bullpen. We didn't blow very many leads late in games. So in the rare occasion where we had a lead in the 7th, 8th, 9th inning, our bullpen kept the lead.
Our bullpen was good. That was the shining
Okay.
point of the season.
And we just signed Adam Warren. That
Right.
just came out today. We didn't really lose anyone from the bullpen. Okay. And do you think that this starting rotation has been downgraded with Gio Gonzalez or upgraded?
We don't
with
have
We
Gio?
don't have
Gonzalez.
Gio
I am
Gonzalez.
assuming this with Gio
You can't
Gonzalez.
assume because there are
Okay.
other suitors for him.
But these are predictions, okay? okay, we're talking about what's gonna happen
In a hypothetical
So if
world,
Gio Gonzalez is acquired by the Padres, what do you think will happen?
I think their rotation will be improved. I think they'll win around 75, 80 games. I don't think they'll make the playoffs. Again, I don't think Gio Gonzalez is an X factor that makes us go from young team on the rise to playoff contenders.
And look, I'm biased. I want the Padres to go make the playoffs.
We all want the
And we all
Padres to
do,
make the
right?
playoffs.
But this team, in my opinion, should have high standards from the gate. I don't think they should come into this season thinking, okay, well, if we win 4 more games than we did last year, or even 10 more games, we're fine. I think this team needs to come in with guys like Andy Green, who hasn't done a bad job as the manager, okay? This is his first year to prove himself, really, in my opinion. This is his first year. You have young guys coming up that have lots of talent, and then you have guys with veteran leadership. I think this team should come in and compete straight away, and I think they should try to stay in it as long as possible.
Of course, they're going to try staying it, but why rush it? Again, we've got this great core.
How are they rushing it? They're not going to go
They have
get
nothing to
rentals.
lose, so
They're
there's
not going
nothing
to
to
go
rush.
get rentals and get these stupid contracts that are going to screw them over in 4 years. They're just going to come in with who they have right now. I mean, Preller makes trades at the deadline, but he's not going to make a trade for a rental and make a playoff push, okay? This team's going to come in with who they have, and they're going to come in with 100% effort, try to win every game, and go in and try to be a playoff team. I don't see any issue with that.
There is no issue with that.
No one in that locker room should be saying, there's no pressure, let's wait till 2021. Everyone should be thinking this year is the year.
Of course, the players are going to be.
That has to be the mentality.
Of course, the players are going to be trying their hardest, but I just don't think that we have the talent right now to make that push.
Word, retweet.
I think you're right to an extent. My problem is you have 2 teams in the Dodgers and the Rockies who, with a couple injuries, could really fall. Okay, and you never know what's going to happen. So my point is, I think there's a lot of potential for this team to make the playoffs. Will they? We don't know. Obviously, I started off, really high on this team because I'm a fan of this team. I want this team to do as good as possible, just like everyone here. So my only real point is, I think the main point of my argument, okay, taking away all the jokes, is that I want this team to be in a situation where if 2 teams slide or 1 team slides and doesn't do as expected, because a couple years ago we thought the Diamondbacks were going to be number 1 in the division. We thought, oh, this team was going to be number 1 in the division. Zach Greinke, all these guys are coming into to the Diamondbacks. Oh, the Giants are supposed to be good with Johnny Cueto, Jeff Samardzija, Madison Bumgarner. They didn't do good. So my point is, if the Rockies take a step back this year, just saying, if they do, when they're not supposed to, I think the Padres need to be the team that jumps in and gets that second spot if someone screws up.
Yes, but you're forgetting that when it comes to a wild card, you're competing with the entire NL.
Right.
There's no argument that the Padres are better than the Phillies. There's no argument that the Padres are better than the Braves, the Cardinals, the Reds, all these teams we've mentioned before.
Well, I think
No, not the Reds.
Yeah,
not the Reds. I think
The Cubs.
I think we're better than the Reds. The Cubs. There we go.
yes. So I mean, listen, Malad, you bring up a good point. The players should want to go out and win because that's what they're getting paid to do, and I feel like we're trying to build a winning atmosphere, and the Padres are doing a great job. However, the starting rotation is nowhere near where it needs to be for us to go make a playoff run. And Jake and I both agree that's why we will miss the playoffs, because we don't have a starting pitching staff. Yes, if we sign Gio Gonzalez, that helps. It eliminates our worst guy. We get a veteran who's proven he's going to pitch in Petco Park, but he hasn't signed with us, so we can't talk about how good our rotation is going to be if we sign him because we don't have him. Yes, we have prospects that look very projectable. However, we don't know how they're going to perform yet.
Mhm.
So,
You
we
have
will
to give
wait
them a
and
year or
see.
2.
You have to be patient as a fan. The players, they can't be. They need to go out and compete, go win their spot, go help the Padres win. But there's not a chance the Padres make the playoffs this year. I'm sorry. I'm a
Agreed.
diehard
Agreed.
Padre fan. I have season tickets. I want us to win, but it's not happening this year. The sooner you realize it, the easier you'll be let down, or the less you'll be let down.
Agreed. 100% agreed.
And look, I'm not going to be let down if this team doesn't make the playoffs, okay? I just want them to really, really come in here and compete, okay? Last year, we had our moments, okay? But really, it was like 3 days, okay? Honestly, it was only 3 games in a row. I just want this team to come in, get a guy like Gio Gonzalez, or don't. Get a guy on a minor league contract. like we did with Tyson Ross, like we did with Trevor Cahill, and or Drew Pomeranz, and have them perform. Okay, I just think that this team is a dark horse. Realistically, on paper, I agree with you guys. This team should not make the playoffs and whatnot. My point is, they have a potential to upswing to the point where they might sneak in and it might come down to game 162. That's all I'm trying to say.
Okay.
You
So
can make that argument.
first off, I would love that because I'm probably going to Arizona State, as we've mentioned on podcasts, and the Padres finished the season in Arizona. So I would love if the Padres were competing at the end of the season,
That'd be pretty dope.
and I'm there because I bet my money I'd be there. But we'll talk about the AL on a future podcast because we've still got a full month until the season starts. It's March. Basketball podcast next week. Hopefully another baseball or a football podcast because the combine's going on right now. But for now, that'll wrap up this episode of Sports Nerds in the Morning. Thank you for listening, and have a good day.
All right. Thanks, guys.